take a look around and find somebody to war eagle. It's showtime.
Hello, Auburn, Alabama, and all points around the globe where War Eagle can be heard and returned with joy, particularly on the hilltop crossroads of College and Magnolia. And as always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you. And I hope this message finds you truly well and joyful, and that you are effulgent and efficacious in your endeavors. Yes, indeed. Hello, consumers of Auburn Broadcast Transmissions, and welcome to Auburn Stuff, the podcast where we discuss the philosophy of life in orange and blue and whatever in the heck comes into my head. Warm greetings as well to our listeners from down in Libertyville, which is just down the road from Andalusia, hometown of one of my Paris Island drill instructors. If you're out there, Brian Foshi, Semper Fi, brother. Up to Bridgeport, way up north in Bridgeport, Alabama. And in Hickory Flat, Georgia. And Atascocita, Texas. That one's for you, Jeffrey Lee. It's Atascocita. You're welcome. All the way up in Easton, Pennsylvania. Way out to Ojai, California. Hello, Soika family. And Frankfurt, Germany. Thank you for joining the fun. It is currently 1:08 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 12:08 in the Central, on Saturday, April 3rd, the day before Easter, and on the precipice of one of the greatest weeks of the year, Masters Week, which usually in my lifetime, A-Day has always been on Masters Week. I think for the most part, at least for the last 15, 20 years, but it's moved back this week. And actually, in my neck of the woods down here in the low country of South Carolina, A-Day will be the week after Masters, which for us is Heritage Week. RBC Heritage, look for us on television at Harbortown Golf Links. And the weather currently in Auburn, Alabama is 59 degrees and clear, which, for my money, is what you want to see in early April. That's good spring weather. It's way too early to be in the 80s. We get enough of that shit. 7-8 months out of the year, it's 157 degrees. So I will take the cool spring mornings and days as long as I can get them. 59 clear, sunny degrees in the loveliest village. You'll top out at 63 today. Light and variable breeze. Your sunset will be at 7:04, and you're in for a beautiful week. If you're in Auburn, later in the week it'll get a little iffy precipitation-wise. So that's your weather in Auburn. And yes, I've been, once again, I know it's been, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks since the last episode, and I try, but the fact of the matter is that COVID has put a squeeze on the availability of my workspace to produce this particular podcast, as Mrs. Auburn Stuff is right over there on Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 6, conducting an awful lot of her own business, and we would sort of cross over. So I got to find I got to bob and weave and find time in between work to do this, and sometimes it takes longer than others. But it is what it is. And anyway, so I had originally named this episode Everything is Already Better, because last week bunches of stories were coming out about bunches of positive stories were coming out of the media, which makes you roll your eyes if you have the perspicacity of table salt, because all we saw for the previous months was, this is a clown show. Auburn doesn't know what they're doing. Who is this guy, Harsin? Can he Can he coach down here? Can he recruit down here? Now it's Brian Harsin has won the spring. Whatever. I mean, again, you will find several consistent messages in this podcast space. One of those being, stop listening to and watching and reading anyone who doesn't cover Auburn directly from Auburn every day. When it comes to reportage. If you want to give an opinion, like I do, that's what I sit here and do. I try to analyze things and give opinions, sort of in a philosophical sense. So you can choose to listen to me or not. But I have no agenda to draw clicks or get eyes on something. If you want to listen, I'd love to have you. If not, peace. Anyway, it's clear who you should and should not pay attention to in the media out there. Which brings me, I'm going to skip around a little bit. This, what was I talking about? See, I'm already lost. I'm already tangential. Anyway, so I originally was going to name this Everything is Already Better, but we've morphed into another, week or so, and I got a bunch of stuff to talk about on my list. And so, maybe since tomorrow is Easter, and then Masters Week starts and spring has sprung, maybe we'll call this something like Pollen, Bunnies, and Golf. Oh my. Anyway, speaking of music, which I wasn't, but last night, this episode is going to be kind of freeform stream of consciousness, so buckle in. You ever wonder what happened to music? I wonder what happened. Well, I don't wonder. I know what happened to music. I just don't know why it happened and why nobody likes music that sounds like music anymore. I don't understand. Sheep to the slaughter. Lemmings over the cliff. Just do what you're told, right? You will like this crap that we're producing. All the music, whether it's the so-called country, which is horrifyingly god-awful right now, pop, I don't know, do they even make rock and roll anymore? And then whatever the rest of that pile of flaming bullshit is that they call music, it's all produced in the same 8x10 room in the Hollywood Hills somewhere by the same 4 people, and they just distribute it with various labels on it. But anyway, last night I got caught up. It's one of those things where you got, like Prime and Hulu and YouTube TV and Netflix and all of those things, and they're all wonderful, but what they all do is lead to the point of not watching anything. You spend more time trying to find something to watch and watching trailers than you do any actual content. And we're no different in this house. And so in this search, I don't know. I think I lost my wife somewhere around the half-hour mark, and she started playing solitaire. And I landed on Film Rise does a series of, I guess you call them documentaries, on albums. And I landed on the Metallica Black Album. So I watched all the production of that. It was the guys in the band, and it was Bob Rock who produced the album and all that kind of stuff. And I love that. How, of the things that we love, how does it get made? That's what I want to see. And then we went from that. I slid right into the Rush 2112 episode, at which point I lost my wife and she fell asleep on the couch. And then I just went right into the Steely Dan episode, the Asia album. And yeah, man, it's just like, listen to that. Metallica from that album was, I believe, 91. Rush 2112 was maybe 1980, 79, 78, maybe even. And the Steely Dan Asia was, about the same time, like 85 or something, but different time periods, wildly different kinds of music, but great music. And what the hell happened to great music? Just not there. Flaming, steaming piles of something you don't want to step in is basically what music is these days. Music is a platform to say dumb shit. Music has become a platform for low-grade pornography and just basically middle school behavior. One giant case of arrested development. It's not even rebellious or avant-garde or anything like that anymore. It's just, we're 13 years old, so let's do and say all of the most horrifying things that we can get away with just because the art is gone. Anyway, that's my screed on music. In the culture, every now and then, one of those WTF moments will rise up and remind you of the parable of the frog in the pot of water. If you're not familiar with that, that's the state. It's illustrative of the state in which we find ourselves currently, where we look around and go, this shit is crazy. I don't know how we got here. Well, if you look back on it with clear eyes and no agenda, you can easily see how we got here. So the frog is in the pot of water and he's swimming around. It's nice water, but someone has turned the heat on. Very low heat, so that the water warms imperceptibly. And then eventually he's like, the water's a little warmer. This is nice, though. Pleasant on my skin. And then some amount of time later, the water's hot. But it's still okay. It's kind of like a hot tub. Kind of, now you're looking at it as, instead of a nice cool swimming pool, you're getting your muscles massaged away in the hot water. Until you wake up and you're boiling and your skin is peeling off and you're dead because you weren't paying attention. And so there are moments, the rise and fall, the fluctuations of life and the economy and inflation and the movement of goods and the velocity of money and all that kind of stuff. You understand that if you have a few brain cells to rub together. But every now and then something in the culture will reach up and slap the shit out of you and go, whoa. So my wife and I, those of you that don't know, in my day job, I am a professional photographer and I shoot an awful lot of weddings. And so we had finished, believe it or not, we had a wedding at 10 a.m. ceremony that we started shooting at 8 a.m. Never done that one before, but it was kind of fun. So it had a bit of a brunch vibe. And the spread at the reception was mostly breakfast brunch related things. Wedding was on the beach. It was lovely, all that kind of stuff. So my wife and I, we left there and we were hungry and we thought, well, how about some pancakes? IHOP? Sure. Word. So we drove to IHOP, got out IHOP. Remember? International House of Pancakes. This is IHOP. This isn't a 5-star brunch restaurant. Is there such a thing as that? Anyway, this is IHOP. Not even paying attention. I don't even look at the menu. I don't look at prices. It's friggin' IHOP. So my wife and I order a coffee each and a water, and I got an orange juice. I got a stack of pancakes with a side of sausage. Pancakes and sausage. She got a scramble with a side of wheat toast. The young lady brings us our check, and I just hand her the debit card. I'm not concerned. It's going to be what? $17 max. We get it back, and I'm signing it, and I'm looking at the total amount so I can leave an appropriate gratuity, because she was quite lovely, a wonderful, wonderful young lady, wonderful server, very pleasant. So I was going to take care of her, and I looked at the total of the bill, and I almost passed out. It was $39 and some odd cents at IHOP for pancakes and sausage and a scramble with a side of toast and a couple of coffees and an orange juice. $39 and some odd cents. What? So, yeah. What the heck, man? Our coffees were $3 each. I didn't see that one coming. But, yeah, if you look around and you wonder why in the hell you don't have as much disposable money, why inflation, you can't get a hold on inflation, why you can't get a hold on the cost of living, and how cost of living in your world doesn't relate, in your reality doesn't relate to what they're calling the cost of living and the impact of prices. And think about it this way: when everybody gets mad at the oil companies for gas prices going up and down, first of all, or the president, whoever the president is, if it's a Republican president, it's going to be his fault for the gas prices going up, and then nobody talks about it if the gas prices go down, and vice versa is the same thing on the other side. But depending on what state you're in, about 70% of the price of a gallon of gas is taxes and fees. Never forget that part. So the amount of money it costs to bring you your pancakes and sausage, the added taxes and fees, the cost of doing business, that's the thing that will sack kick you without you being aware of it. So anyway, yeah, that'll do. What else is going on? So, Mrs. Auburn Stuff and I have our COVID vaccines booked. First shot is coming Monday, and the second one will be a month later. And I don't know, everybody that I know that's gotten the vaccination has been kind of knocked out for a day or two, which is, I don't know if you call it commonplace, but it's not unexpected from any kind of vaccine. And so we haven't been sick at all in over a year from this, and now we look forward to being sick from the vaccine. But what are you going to do, right? So that's good news. And by the way, it was very easy. I'm old. I'm far older than my bride. So I'll be 52 in 10 days. Holy cow. So I don't even know. Haven't been paying attention about who's allowed to get shot up when, but all we did was go on to Walgreens and book our two vaccination appointments. Easy peasy, Gary Sinise. So cool. There's that. I hope you all, and what's going to piss me off about this is I'm going to be inoculated. And even though I've been running around shooting weddings in these overcrowded places, because where I live is a tourist destination, and so there are billions and billions of people here, basically between spring break and Christmas, with some crests and troughs, but for the most part, there's a lot of people here. last summer, last June, shot a wedding on the beach. It was 185 degrees. There was about 10,000 people within about, I don't know, 1 acre area on the beach there. Nobody was sick. Never got sick. Looked at my wife as we were walking through that mess going, well, if we didn't get it before, we're getting it now. Nah, nothing. We operated with common sense. We wore our masks where we were supposed to wear our masks. We already were practitioners of hand washing and cleanliness. So that wasn't new for us. Anyway, fucking COVID. I'm so tired of hearing that. But what's going to piss me off is even after I get the damn vaccine, I'm still going to have to wear a goddamn mask everywhere I go. You guys, this mask thing is not good. And what I mean by that is for the essence of humanity. We're not meant to walk around like that. We're communicative and social people, and we need, it says right there in the creed, doesn't it? I believe in the human touch. Now, that doesn't mean I want strangers touching me. I do have some proximity issues, but we do need contact without being shielded by layers of plastic and plexiglass and cotton and lycra. So let's hope that goes away. Anyway, that's enough about that. Happy Gotcha Day to Lucy the Border Collie, my capricious and autonomous little canine buddy. That Border Collie that you hear yapping in the background sometimes, keeping the perimeter secure. Her Gotcha Day was a couple of days ago when we adopted her from the shelter. So happy Gotcha Day to my little Princess Boo Boo, Lucy the Border Collie. I reviewed the last episode, and of course I screwed up a couple of things, and I always do that, but this time I wanted to bring it up because one of them was particularly egregious. As I was referring to those in the media whom you should be giving your attention and who you should not. One of them that I brought up, that I tried to bring up, was Jason Caldwell. And I kept saying Jason Campbell, but you can see I wouldn't call that the worst verbal blunder I've ever made into a microphone. Jason Campbell, Jason Caldwell. Close enough. They're both Auburn people. They're both, Jason Campbell's a media person now. So anyway, what I should have said was y'all should be reading and watching and listening to Jason Caldwell, along with Mark Murphy and some of the other people who cover the Auburn beat, as it were. And I have no issues at all. No, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not a member of the media. I'm just here yapping into a microphone and hopefully entertaining you for a little few minutes every now and then. So go listen and go read, go watch. I guess you would have auburnsports.com and 24/7 are competitors. So the two of them wouldn't necessarily want to be promoting each other's podcasts and websites, obviously. But I say go listen to and read the people who are producing good work out there, which is the 24/7 guys, which is the Auburn Sports guys, which is the War Report guys, which is, Nathan King. And like I said, Jay Lee with recruiting and B. Matt and all those guys over there on the rundown. JG, they do a great job. Nathan King, did I say that already? Anyway, read these people. Listen, Philip Marshall. Listen, you're not going to get anybody. I know Philip Marshall takes hits because he's an old crusty dude, but there's nobody that has a better knowledge base of Auburn than Philip Marshall. So read him and listen to him when he comes on whatever podcast you are. So anyway, Jason Caldwell is not Jason Campbell. So those of you who were yelling at me last time, it was just a simple slip of the tongue. I also messed up on one of my standby phrases from the military, which is, I believe I said, the more you bleed in training, the less you bleed in combat. And it's actually the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in combat. Meaning, put all of your work. How you do anything is how you do everything. And you work your ass off when nobody's watching. When the crowds aren't there, when the cameras aren't on, you bust your ass until you can't move anymore. And when Saturday comes, it's you that's having the best time because you worked hard during the week so that Saturday's easy. And you run in circles around your opponents because you're better conditioned, because you're stronger. Yeah. So anyway, wow, we are 26 minutes in, and this has been a variety show. Doesn't have a whole lot to do with Auburn. But anyway, so Auburn stuff. Auburn University Equestrian, third straight SEC title. And they did it beating Athens Academy, the Booger Eaters from Northeast Georgia. Nothing could be sweeter. Congratulations, ladies. You are a dominant force in the universe. War damn horses and bring home another natty. What else is on the landscape? And just when the wailing hue and cry and the gnashing of teeth let forth across the plains, the baseball Tigers beat the number one team in the country on the road. I mean, baseball and softball, I don't know. These are long seasons, and it ain't looking real good right now, but they're also probably the easiest sports to figure out what's going on and turn it around and work on a specific thing. But it's tough sledding in the ball and bat world, y'all. There's no two ways around that, and I'm sure that no one is more disappointed than those coaches and those athletes. Don't ever think that you're madder or more upset or more pissed off than the people playing the games. Just enjoy it and get a grip. But the ball and bat, ladies and gentlemen, are struggling with some things. There's a dearth of runs to be found for whatever reason. But check this out, though. I looked at this. The Baseball America poll has 4 SEC teams in their top 5. And in softball, the SEC has 2 of the top 5. There are a total of 27 SEC basketball and softball squads. Vandy doesn't have a softball team for whatever reason. Of those 27, 15 of the possible 27 SEC schools that can be ranked are top 25 ranked, and 8 of them are top 10 ranked. So it's a shark tank to swim in. Now that doesn't mean, subpar performance is acceptable, but figure it out. There's good coaching going on. There's good athletes there. Get it squared away. We'll see what happens at the end of these long seasons. And a hearty atta girl goes out to Kaylee Telfer, Auburn women's golfer, who has well instantiated the War Eagle way by making the cut to play Saturday upon the hallowed grass of Augusta National in the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Well done. Good luck in War Eagle. Oh, let's see. And in other matters, under the topic of who to read and who to not pay attention to, today's Nutsack with a Keyboard Award goes to someone who shall remain unnamed, so I shall not promote, but let's say, what is this site? This fan-sided Fly War Eagle thing, mostly just nonsense coming out of that. And this particular individual has written back-to-back articles that I read that just had me face palming and just going, what? Why did you even write this? Uh, this one is about Brian Harsin desperately cannot lose Jarrell Stinson to Florida State. Okay, you have my attention. The summation, essentially, where he goes is, and I quote from the article, losing a highly touted local product. By the way, this dude is a 3-star defensive back, I think, which, no, you don't want to lose a recruiting battle to anyone. You don't want a 3-star local guy going somewhere else if you're going to offer him, but let's get a grip here. Let's get a hold of ourselves. So back to the article. Losing a highly touted local product, one who dominated in the Alabama State track and field ranks, what the fuck does that mean? Would be a horrible look for the new regime. Really? Horrible? Auburn football has been known for its strong secondary play through the past decade, so losing such a product to a Power 5 foe would be a major hiccup for the new staff in its first offseason. And here we go. Especially to Florida State, who are the reason Gus Malzahn left Auburn without a championship ring on his finger. So a 3-star high school defensive back somehow relates to Gus Malzahn and the national championship game 8 years ago. That's where we got in this article. So just really honestly give it a rest. And in the please just stop department, first, you guys, I hate April Fool. I hate it. Practical jokes are stupid. Most of the time they're cruel. They lead to really bad things, and I'm just not really into laughing at other people's pain and misfortune because I'm not a psychopath. But of course, being herd followers, whoever it was on Auburn Twitter that did the stupid Brian Harsin post with the blue field, Auburn has changed its. Brian Harsin has had the grounds crew change Auburn's practice fields to blue turf. First of all, anybody, if you believed that, just stop, go away, sit in the corner, and think about things for several years before you get back to us. And second of all, it's just dumb. It's sophomoric and dumb, and I'm sick of dumb shit. It's just agonizing. So yeah, apparently in the tweet, Brian Harsin approves of Auburn's blue turf practice field. Quote, this feels right. Stop. And there was another article written about that in which I think it was this same dumbass that wrote this other one that I was just reading from about relating a current high school player to Gus Malzahn in Florida State in a game 8 years ago. I think it was the same dude who wrote this up. I could be wrong about that, but just it was summarized by basically saying, well, we hope Brian Harsin doesn't really feel this way. And I hope your article about the tweet was an April Fool's joke as well. I mean, honestly, Twitter, anyway, aside from the 12 people in the universe who utilize it effectively as really kind of an information dissemination spot because of its mass appeal, Twitter is genuinely the domain of arrested development and the emotionally crippled. So I highly recommend staying away from that. Moving on. Well, the answer to the question has come, and it appears that Sharif is peacing out on a weird, truncated Auburn pit stop. We're not going to call it a career or you can't even call it a season because he didn't play most of the season. This was unfortunate and strange for everyone all the way around. And of course, as I always tell you, do what's best for you. That's all I want. Be a decent human being, represent yourself and your family and everyone else around you to the best of your ability. And so for whatever reason, whatever his reasons are and his family, and, I'm sure it was well considered, he's going to be moving on. And apparently it's not even a case of he's going to go test the waters and then see where he's at, get evaluated, and come back. It says a couple of different articles say that Sharif enters the NBA draft, will not return to Auburn. And Sharif gave a nice quote, a nice piece about his love for Auburn and the Auburn family and the coaches and all that. And it was very well written or spoken. And so good luck. And it also says in one of the articles that he intends to enter the draft and go ahead and hire an agent. And so that's the part that says that it's over. So good luck to Sharif. We're pretty bummed out that we didn't get to see you for very much of a season at all. We were all dazzled by your talent and your potential, and we wanted to see your potential grow more here at Auburn, but we hope that you have the best of luck and the best of health and the best of success wherever you end up. But I suppose on the bright side is that this clears up the point guard conversation for the next season. So that's a good thing about this. If he's going to go ahead and do it, state it as clearly as it was stated. I'm out and I ain't coming back. That way the team and the coaches can move on with recruiting and moving the pieces into position that need to be moved. So that's the bright side of this. So yeah, the point guard position, the conversation for next season and helps with recruiting the position going forward. And of course, I believe we got the commitment from the transfer from College of Charleston down in my neck of the woods over here. Zep Jasper, by the way, going to go into the top echelon of my favorite names of athletes of all time. Come on, Zep Jasper. Get you some of that. So he was a pretty damn good player at CFC. Will fill an immediate need, and I mean, it looks to me like he's going to be the point guard next year. I mean, there's other transfer potentials, other players going on out there. Like I guess I don't know, Xavier Pinson. I think he's a dual guard. He can play either guard position. So that's good. And some of the other names that you could see out there. Nimari Burnett, Texas Tech, a guard. Walker Kessler, that's interesting. Big former 5-star center. Auburn was in the mix for him. In high school, he went to North Carolina. Now he's out of there. But it looks like he's probably going to be headed to Gonzaga, which seems like a pretty solid move. But there's other guys. A shooting guard, Noah Locke from Florida. Here you go, Fats Russell. A point guard named Fats. Kick ass. Who else is on here? There's, I don't know, Kiki, Kai from Xavier. And a Kiki, a Desi, and a Wee Wee. Oh, a Tai. Lord have mercy. So the basketball roster and the transfer market has not been solidified, and it looks like Zep Jasper is probably lined up to be the point guard next year, but we shall see. We shall see. And hopefully Bruce will be able to not have his one position on the court tossed up in the air in a fit of confusion as this past season was. All right, so since we're talking about basketball, we'll do a very brief NCAA tournament update. Very brief because I don't really care except for some of the more remarkable things. And speaking of basketball, speaking of Auburn basketball, what was, I don't know, I came across, maybe I was scanning through YouTube or something came up. But anyway, highlights. I was watching a highlight clip of Jared Harper from the 1920 season. And I just sat there in awe again. And never, ever, ever forget, Auburn, what an absolute stone cold badass Jared Harper was in 2019-2020. Good God Almighty. Wow. Just go watch highlights. It's so fun. God, he was so fun to watch play. Of all the things that I saw him do, I think the one that maybe sticks out in my head the most, there were so many, but the one that leaps to the top of mind right now, and usually when I think about, is that, I don't know, 70-foot friggin' three-pointer against Florida in the SEC tournament. I think that was that the second game? Second game? Stepped back. What was he, 10 feet behind the three-point line with his feet in the logo in the middle of the court and just daggered Florida. Oh, that was beautiful. So never, ever forget Jared Harper. Damn, he was a player. Is a player. Was here. And you know what? Speaking of Jared Harper, tangentially, two players Auburn people should never overlook through history. Jared Harper and Nick effing Marshall. Nick Marshall. Another stone cold badass. Here's what you do. Here's how you coach Nick Marshall. Give him the ball and let him play. God, he was so good. So good. Never seen anybody run an option style, a read option, an option style offense where the quarterback has the option to hand it off, to pull it, to throw it. I hadn't seen somebody run an option style offense that well since Randy Campbell. Anyway, that just popped in my head and wanted to bring that up. So, the NCAA tournament has had some fun stuff. Starting with, I don't know, do you want to start with, let's start with the first round where Oral Roberts took out the Buckeyes. Now, I have a burr up my ass for Ohio State. One, because ever since I was a child and started paying attention to top 20 polls, then 25, Ohio State was always way, way, way up at the top. And you'd look at their schedule and you go, well, no fucking wonder they're always up there. They play 9 high school teams a year. And it's irritating because Ohio State is a huge state university in a hugely populated football-rich area. So they have all the talent. But they never play anybody. It's like Clemson is right now. Clemson is a preeminently talented football team, but they never can play anybody. It's like Gonzaga, quite frankly. Gonzaga is uber talented, but their schedule is horrifying, except for they play and before the NCAA tournament, and I am not taking anything away from Gonzaga. Trust me. Don't get crazy on me, because they play competition, elite competition in preseason tournaments and things like that. And then, you know, they've been making deep runs into in the NCAA tournament for what, 15, 20 years now? But their conference is a joke. That's not hyperbole. Their conference is a joke. So anyway, back to Ohio State. Anytime that Ohio State can lose at anything, especially when it's humiliating like a first round tournament loss to Oral Roberts, I delight. And then Oral Roberts turns around and beats Florida the next game. And other teams like, what are they, 14 seed, I believe, Abilene Christian taking out Texas. Loyola Chicago taking out number 1 seed Illinois. With a Big Ten shit to bed, didn't they? Ooh, all we saw all season long in this sort of fake COVID season was scads of Big Ten teams at the very top of the polls, and they did not represent themselves well, did they? The SEC was not on fire. SEC had a down year. Let's not be blind to that, but congratulations to Arkansas for being a 3 seed and then for making it to the Elite 8, I think. And then there's the best moment of the tournament, I guess. We all had to sit and cringe and watch Northern Alabama Institute for Criminal Activity win the friggin' conference and the tournament and then win a couple of games in the damn NCAA. And you're just like, you know what? There is no God, is there? How long is this going to last? And then UCLA comes up and says, no, we're going to take our 11 seed. Now, I didn't watch. I watched about 1 minute of game time of that game, which was about 20 minutes. Basketball needs to work on that. Near the end of the first half. And so apparently UCLA had a reasonably sizable lead that frittered away. And I didn't want to come back and watch that game because it seemed like, well, those booger eaters from across the state are going to win another one, and it's just painful. And I don't want to watch it. And then I saw the scores in the bracket, and I'm like, holy shit, what happened? And UCLA ended up winning by 10. So good on you, Bruins, and congratulations for making it to the Final Four, 11 seed. They got 2 1s, a 2, and an 11. And I don't see, you look at what Gonzaga has done in this tournament, and they won by 43. They won by 16. They won by 18. They won by 19. No one's going to beat them. UCLA, Baylor, Houston, no, I don't see it. Anyway, so that's enough about basketball. So, a couple things to consider as we kind of turn our way back towards the discussion that I've really been kind of hammering home the last several episodes, because I really want to get this. I want to lay this foundation here so everybody knows there's no question about where I'm coming from, what I'm looking at when it comes to the Auburn football team. I mean, this is really my philosophy when it comes to anything in life, but this is Auburn stuff, and it is spring football. So we're going to talk about, and we are transitioning from the dark days to a bold new world. So there's definitely a message I've been endeavoring to get across. And so today's stuff to consider is that if you want to get a good feel for what people are doing, really all you have to do ever is actually listen to the words that are coming out of their mouths. Whatever the mission, generally speaking, people want to tell you about it. Conversely, the same is true of the other side of the coin. When someone has something to hide about what they're doing, whether they're being sneaky or whether they're lying to you or whether they're just incompetent, they're going to serve you up an overflowing platter of word salad or a bunch of lifeless pro forma platitudes. And people who engage in this verbal diarrhea are either masking incompetence or are so arrogant and pious that they don't believe their audience is smart enough to understand what they're saying. Sometimes, in very special occasions, we get to witness the double rainbow, the combo package of incompetence, arrogance, and obtuseness topped with the outward appearance of stolidity. And that's when you get declarative statements like, 6 wins is a solid season. Let the listener understand and be mindful. People want straightforward, truthful answers. Everybody says you can't handle the truth. Well, that is bullshit. Can handle anything that comes our way as long as we're honest. Okay? Deceit will crush you. It's pretty simple, really. Trust is a precious and tenebrous commodity. It's not yours for the taking, and it should never be assumed. You're not entitled to trust just because you are who you are. Trust and belief in anything the last guy was doing died in a positive feedback loop of incompetence, fear, and antagonism because he couldn't articulate what the hell he was doing. So the positive feedback loop is a stimulus occurs and is fed into a machine that passes it back to the origin point in an exaggerated fashion, moving itself farther away from the origin point. So think about the feedback when a microphone gets too close to a speaker, and it inevitably crescendos into this horrible sound that shatters everyone's eardrums and destroys equipment. That's a positive feedback loop. And that's what we witnessed. And that's why we didn't really understand what the heck was going on. None of the ingredients seemed to fit together. And it was frustrating. And the understanding that seemed to be lost, in other words, the misunderstanding, is that being a head coach at this level is about more than being a moderately passable coordinator. That's why it used to drive me crazy It drives me crazy when football teams are hiring for a head coach, and it's like, oh, well, that offensive coordinator, this defensive coordinator takes more than that. The position head coach, head individual, the position necessarily demands that you are a spokesman. And if you come without that particular skill set, then what follows is a predictable series of events. And so what you look at is the positive feedback loop. Coach A is not articulate. He's not stupid, but he's not articulate. He doesn't speak well. He uses phrases like real good. And so he's not good at articulating his mission, if he has one. And so because of that, he doesn't want to stand up in front of people and talk to them about it. It's not that he's not a joyful person or doesn't want to talk to people. It's just that he is not comfortable because he's not a spokesman. He cannot articulate his message. And so he doesn't want to stand up in front of people and do it who listen to messages for a living and convey them to other people. So the people trying to assimilate, trying to take in, trying to absorb the message can sense this. And so it builds an adversarial relationship. And what started out as that coach just really not being comfortable talking in front of people now becomes a fight. And it becomes a fight on the other side because of the negative spinning, the positive feedback loop, and it moves farther and farther and farther away. And so what started out as a guy who just is uncomfortable talking about really anything in front of a formal environment like a press conference or something like that has now spun completely out of control into an openly antagonistic relationship with the media, the fans, and everybody else in the periphery. And so because of that, you saw what we saw deteriorate over the last 11 years. And I keep bringing this up because it's not cemented yet in everybody's consciousness that it's a new day. It's a new world. And I'm talking through this. I know you can hear my phone dinging in the background, and it's pissing me off too. But I don't want to stop. So this is the essence of my relentless message of renewed optimism. If you think about this in a meta sense, you can see that, stay with me here, meta. In a meta sense, you can see that football is the subtext of football. It's like sales. No one eats and no one pays the mortgage without selling the product. But in order to sell the product at a high level, you have to build a highly functioning infrastructure to foster, promote, and enable the sales force. So a sustained level of excellence in football isn't about football. It's about the foundation upon which the program operates and the co-supportive network of the 1,000,001 parts that put dudes on the field on autumn Saturday afternoons. The football part becomes self-engendering if you create the proper environment. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing a new operational order these days. And you can see this and you can hear it in some places that I've pulled exemplars from. The Derek Mason press conference last week. A few quotes that I pulled from that from Coach Mason. It's all about the players. How do you put guys in position to create success? End quote. Well, that seems pretty basic, but you know what? We didn't see an awful lot of that recently. Seems like they get it. Another quote from him. It's all about coaches meeting guys where they are. Now, I got to tell you, that little mantra right there, you got to meet people where they are, that is true everywhere in life. You can't shove people where you need them to be. You can't visualize yourself as some kind of grand chess master and using the parts and pieces around you, the people around you as pieces in your little game and trying to jam them into spaces in which they do not fit. Lead people to becoming the best versions of themselves by utilizing and cultivating their innate abilities. Man, why is that so hard? Apparently it's not for Coach Mason and the rest of this staff. Another quote from that press conference. When we had a chance to talk about, this is Mason talking about a conversation with Harsin. When we had a chance to talk, the conversation was very much to the point about his vision for Auburn, and that vision was set in stone. It was very strategic and had all the makings of what a good leader should talk about, end quote. Hallelujah! You've been hearing those words right here for a long, long time. I'm so happy right now. This little gem, that little quote right there was Mason talking about his meeting with Harsin. He was basically on his way, according to him, back to the NFL. He was done with college, back to the NFL. There it is again. Strategic vision set in stone. You've been waiting for this, Auburn family. You've been waiting for this for more than 30 years, whether you realize it or not. And many in the Auburn family and Auburn aren't sure what to do about the gift from God that's being placed in their laps because they've never seen it up close. Not in Auburn, anyway. They've seen it stack hardware across the state without really grasping why it was happening. And that goes back to my whole meta thing. The football part becomes self-engendering if you create the proper environment. Strategic vision executed with competence and a sense of purpose. This has been the missing link since around 1989. And the reason we've all suffered the post-traumatic stress effects of the schizophrenic roller coaster known as Auburn football. A couple of other things that encouraged me. On the rundown, I was listening to those guys. I think it was this past Tuesday's episode, and Christian was talking about, after watching the open practice, talking about surprise players getting first team reps. And this is something I've been talking about. I told y'all to watch out for ghosted players. When you're talking about how shitty our recruiting class may or may not have been and what's left on the roster, well, don't forget, dig back into the roster. Go to auburntigers.com, click on football, click on roster, and go look at dudes that we recruited a year or 2 or 3 ago that were 4 stars that disappeared. They're there, and they're coming. And they're coming with coaches who know what the hell to do with them. Guys he mentioned like Javarius Johnson, Jeremiah Wright. Oh, Jeremiah Wright. Torn ACL. I wrote this before that happened, so that was shitty. Tyler Fromm. Dudes that couldn't seem to find the field getting first-team reps. Again, how many talented players have we signed over the last decade-ish, you know what I mean, that just vanished? I mean, every goddamn year it seemed like we lament the always impending depth crisis while there are players all over the roster with 0 to single-digit reps for a year or 2. I mean, what the fuck? Over? We're creeping out of that cave. Rejoice. Ooh, that was an Easter metaphor that I did not even mean to make. It's like the Spirit was moving within me. Anyway, other resources about, kind of about on the same transitional track that we're on here. Things, why the hell were we so confused before? Because everybody was lying to us and nobody was talking to us. Nobody was being upfront. Also on the rundown, JG did recorded one in, I think they were in Mobile. And Reese Dismukes was on it. First of all, never ever interrupt Reese Dismukes when he's telling stories. Ever, ever, ever. Reese, I'm going to holler at you. We're going to do a segment on this show called Story Time with Reese. I'll be talking to you soon. Look for that. Anyway, he told stories about stuff that it's out there. There was no mystery to this. And there are other articles. I pulled 3 articles about Jarrett Stidham. Why is Jarrett Stidham so far behind the curve at this point in his career? What this high school offense, this offense that is so basic. The players aren't allowed to make any decisions, and there's about 6 plays run out of several formations. So yeah, we all thought it was some complex, crazy looking, mad scientist offense. It wasn't at all. It was just a bunch of bullshit around it that looked like, they call it the eye candy. Anyway, so it's out there. You can check that stuff out. And so to bring this in, it's been a while. Hour and 3 minutes. So if you're still with me, thank you for that. I've been, like I told y'all at the beginning, a little bit of stream of consciousness. And so I got some things off my chest, and I think I'm just about through wrapping up the transition stuff. The long, dark tunnel. You know what? Let's stick with the Easter metaphor. There were days before the transition. And then Maundy, Thursday happened. Ash Wednesday before that, but Maundy, Thursday happened and everything went dark. And Good Friday on into Easter Sunday, when the stone was moved and a new day of enlightenment dawned upon humanity. Is that a little too much? Probably. But hey, happy Easter, everyone. So we're going to wrap that up right there. Take this to the house, and I am going to be working, as I've told you over and over again, on some things I'm going to try to do once a week. I think Saturdays is not the best time to release a podcast episode. I understand that. I know the metrics behind it, but it's kind of all I can do right now. So it's fine, though. I don't do a lot of, like time-sensitive stuff. We kind of meander through the philosophy of the week. And so it's fine. Whenever you pick this up, whether, it's today or 2 weeks from now, you're going to be just fine. Go back and listen to the rest of the catalog, too. I've been doing this podcast for like 3 years now. Struggling to keep it regular, but I'm working on that. And again, the YouTube channel is up and running. Right now, it's only audio on the YouTube, but I'm going to be working on the video stuff. But I'm working on finding a compadre, a co-host, or a sort of a moderator of me. Someone to bounce ideas back and forth. So I'm working on all that stuff. In the meantime, you guys stay tuned, and I appreciate you more than you could possibly know. So let's take her on into port. And with that, I bid you all good day. And when you rise to the new dawn, put your feet on the floor with determination to be just a little bit better than you were yesterday. That path to enlightenment never ends. Don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Whew, we covered a lot of stuff today, y'all. Auburn Stuff can be found at auburnstuff.podbean.com, on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and lots of other places in the podcast universe. Also on YouTube. Search everywhere for Auburn Stuff. Looks like, once again, iHeartRadio is our biggest, most popular download platform, followed by Apple Podcasts. But I encourage you to go to Podbean. Download the Podbean app and subscribe, rate, and review. It's auburnstuff.yahoo.com. If you want to holler at me about anything, drop me a line. Let me know if I messed up somebody else's name again. But anyway, as I said, whether it's the Podbean app or whether it's Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, support what you like. Actively support what you like. And it's important to subscribe. It's important to give a rating. It's important to give a little review. So give a little bit of your time. Share the podcast. Send the link on to someone you think might like it. But don't forget those words. Actively support what you like, because things are going away. Not of natural causes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show today. And always, as I said, go back and take a listen to the rest of the catalog if you so desire. And look for future shows as we go. I appreciate your time. There is no more precious resource, as it is a non-renewable commodity. And I appreciate a little bit of yours. So I'll see you soon. And until that time, be mindful, be fit, be authentic. Sometimes it's all you have, but most of the time, it's all you need. Until next time, War Eagle, everyone.